Hello, and welcome to our series on the 5 stages of backwards design. In these short videos, we will be walking through how to create instructional units with competency in mind. We hope you check out all the videos in this series. In this video, we will be exploring the first step in our backwards design process, essential questions. As many of you already know, the essential questions are those big idea questions that will be guiding our learning journey. So, how do I know if I've got a good essential question? Here are some key characteristics of essential questions. They are open-ended. They do not have an immediate and correct answer. Answers are arrived at gradually and over time. Therefore, a lot of times, these questions often begin with how, why, or in what ways. They are intrinsically repetitive. Essential questions are not one-time questions. They can be sustained or revisited throughout a unit without losing relevance or the power to investigate, thereby creating new understanding and opportunities for application to various contexts. They are likely to raise more questions. And they have vast scope towards meaning making. Essential questions create links with the big ideas. They make space for lively and detailed discussion and debate, reconsidering set beliefs and perspectives, thinking critically, and self-reflection. This matrix illustrates applying Webb's depth of knowledge levels to Bloom's cognitive process dimensions. Bloom's on the x-axis and DOK at the y-axis. Good essential questions allow students to be at the highest level of these and indicates that there will be rigor. Here, as is shown highlighted, students are doing more things than simply identifying, explaining, or describing. Here, we can see active verbs such as analyzing, interpreting, critiquing, developing arguments, creating solutions, evaluating, applying, articulating new perspectives. So good essential questions allow students to do such things. Now I want you to take a look at the essential questions that you currently have for your classes. Using this list, let's determine whether they are really essential or not. Number 1, are your questions meant to be explored, argued, and continually revised and reflected upon? Number 2, do they have various plausible answers? Does your question often raise more questions? Number 3, does your question spark or provoke thought and stimulate students to engage in sustained inquiry and extended thinking? Number 4, does your question reflect genuine questions that real people seriously ask, either in their work or in their lives, not a quote-unquote teacherly question asked only in schools? On the flip side, does your question have a specific, straightforward, unproblematic answer? Is your question asked to prompt factual recall rather than generate sustained inquiry? Is your question more likely to be asked by a teacher or a textbook than by a curious student or person out in the world? And is your question more rhetorical than genuine? Let's practice transforming some non-essential questions into essential ones. So as you can see, we have some questions on the right that are in green and on the left that are in the white. The first question says, what lessons does the main character learn by the end of the novel? This is a question that might come up in an English classroom. We can change this to, how can a person's decisions and actions change his or her life? Here's an example for a history class. What impacts did World War II have on the American economy? We can change that one to, what are the politics and consequences of war, and how do these vary based on individual or cultural perspectives? For a language class, we have, what are some Spanish vocabulary words that do not exist in English? The essential version would be, how does language influence the way we think, act, and perceive the world? Here's a science one. How are biomes usually classified? The essential version would read, how can recognizing different biomes help in understanding of diversity? The last one's a math one. Solve the equation using the data set, create a graph to show work. This is a question you might find on a quiz or maybe even on a worksheet. The essential question would be, how do the graphs of mathematical models and data help us better understand the world in which we live? So as we can see, we have questions on the right that are exploratory, reflective, and provoke inquiry. These are questions that should be lingering and resonating with students after the unit, after the course, and even after graduation. We hope this video helped you come up with your essential questions for your classroom. Please watch our next part where we will be discussing skills.